Welcome back to Spinning the Past. Today I'm going to make a short video on how I wash my wools and other fibers such as silk. These are my delicates, so see I have a nice little laundry basket. I've got to get to them today. Here's some mittens. These are beautiful. I did not make these. I did not knit these, but these were on some charity auction and I bid for this because I know how wonderful and well made these mittens are, but they're a little, they got a little muck on here, so I'm going to wash that separately. I have a wool, this is a wool vest. This is a cashmere sweater. This is a silk hand-dyed scarf that I made, and this is a beautiful little lace wimple. It has beads in it. The first time I did beading in knitting. So this is kind of fragile, so I'm going to show you how I wash it today. And the products that I'm using is this unicorn. It's the baby. It's the same as their other one, which I use for heavy duty scrubbing of my wools. But they said that this is the exact same line, except this has no scent. That's the only difference between the baby and then the regular formula. So Beyond Clean would be like their power scour, and that is what I would use for things that are soiled on my fibers. They use these for baby diapers, and I use this for when my husband took his wool shirt and decided to dig up the yard and got all sorts of muck on it. I didn't know how I was going to clean it out of wool, but I let it soak for about 6 hours and it came out beautifully clean. This is their static conditioner. I haven't tried that. I think I'm going to try that today on some of my items. And then this is their general Beyond Wool Wash. And now the reason why I use these is because these are specifically formulated for wools and delicates. The wool lights are not really made for wool anymore. They're mainly for synthetics, and the pH is different for that as opposed to wools. And I need something I can feel like I can trust in, that will not disintegrate my wools, that will not make my wools harsh, and they will actually do some cleaning. So just a little plug for them. So this is these are wool stockings that I'm gonna start filling up the water. Technically, you're not supposed to put the water directly on it. I gotta get it at tepid. Not too cold, not too hot. As long as I keep the wash and the rinse at the same temperature, it won't felt. And if I don't use harsh detergents, which I'm not, and if I don't scrub it like I'm trying to beat the life out of it, it won't felt on me. So this is just a really cool warm, probably like body temp I have here. Just gonna fill this up. And for these, I'm gonna use, let's see if I can get this in camera here. Here we go. I'm gonna use this Beyond Fiber Wash because these are not very dirty. And I'm just gonna put just a tiny bit. Doesn't need very much. All you do is changing the pH, and suds do not mean clean. So you don't want it all foaming, because then that's a lot more rinsing to get out that detergent. And those even these washes, you really don't want those to stay in. You don't want the surfactants to stay in there. So there we go. So I just, this little basin right here, and I just filled it up, and I have this in here, and I'm kind of just gonna just shake it around a little bit, and then I do nothing. I let the water and some of those suds do the job, and I'll wait here for about 10-15 minutes, and I'll be back. So it's been about 10 minutes. And if I pull this out, you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but it's a little discolored. It's a little dirty. Again, wool doesn't necessarily self-wash. But I filled up over here, the same temperature as this. I filled up some just plain water, and I'm just gonna soak that in there. I'll just swish it around, and then I'll dump this out. And now I'm gonna see if I get the same temperature. I'm gonna try this anti-static. Where is it? There I am. Ooh, here you go. This Beyond Soft. I'm gonna try it with this one. I don't normally use such things, but I'll give it a try. Okay, that's a little too warm. Bring it down. And then I don't need much. It says on the bottle here, I don't know if you can still hear me. It says on the bottle I need 1 tablespoon for, I think it's 1 gallon. So in clean rinse water. So that's what I'm going to do. I need a little bit more though. It's warm, bring it down. But I'm just going to use a capful. I don't know if they measured this. Maybe this is a tablespoon. Kind of looks like it. But I don't really need that much because I have just a single item in here. So just a couple of drops. Just take some of the static out of it. Like I said, I'm just playing with my new little products. Okay, so that's enough. So over here, rinse those. And now I'm going to put it in here while I drain that out. So I'm just going to let this soak in here maybe a minute. I don't really say. Like I said, I don't usually use conditioning, so I'm just going to see how it goes today. So I've rinsed this in the conditioner, anti-static conditioner, and I'm just kind of gently squeezing it out, the excess. And now here I have a towel. I call it a cat towel because it's just old towel, and I'm just gonna kind of roll it up. Really, just to get most of the moisture out. And now I'm gonna put this up to dry, and in a later clip I will show you I have a new gadget, a new toy for wool drying. But I'm going to put this aside and I'm going to show you how I do something that's a little bit dirtier, how I wash that kind of wool. Okay, so I have these lovely mittens. Let's see if I can back here. As I said, these were hand knitted by someone else. I got it in an auction. These are lined, these are knitted, so they're not reversible, but they're lined. They're really not, they're not thrums, but they're lined, and I just really like these. I forget the lady who made these for the auction, but I love them and I wear them. But they've got a little bit of a dirt on them. And so for something that has a little bit more stain on it, I will use, let's see, the Beyond Clean, which is equivalent to the Power Scour. The Power Scour is for really good deep washing of the wool, but it's still pretty delicate. The only difference that the Beyond Clean is the baby line, and it doesn't have a scent. That's the only difference that they told me, was that this is unscented. The baby line is unscented, and the other line, either one, if you don't mind the scent, use the other. You can use a little bit of Power Scour. And on here it says, for hand washing, 1 tablespoon to 1 gallon of warm water. Well, I'm not really using one gallon because I just have this one item. So I'll just put maybe a teaspoon in there. Again, maybe I underwash it, I don't know, but this is really concentrated, I found, and a little goes a long way. And again, I don't want lots of suds in my wash. There you go. I don't want lots of suds because the suds just take forever. Rinse and rinse and rinse and rinse to get out. You just need a little bit see, it's just a tiny bit slippery. That's really all I need. And so I'll put in these beautiful mittens. I did not make them. I wish I did. So I just soak them. I'm just going to put them down here. And I'm just going to saturate enough. So I'm going to, because wool, you know, absorbs 30% more of its weight. And this is lined too, so this is going to take a while to dry. That's okay. It needed to get done, and it's a good example of how to wash something that's a little bit dirtier. Again, I've used something similar when my husband went out, and he has a very, very thin wool t-shirt, and he's a very hot person, so I was surprised that he liked the really thin wool t-shirt. But and it's white, it was natural colors, and he went out to go rake after there was a big storm and we had all these leaves down there, and he went to go rake all that muck in his white shirt, and I'm like, how am I going to get that clean? So the Power Scour people, or the people, the Unicorn that makes these products, as you know, they said soak it in a tub. I think it was 6 hours or overnight or something. I can't remember if I did it 6 hours or overnight. Wow, look at that. See the dirt? You can see the dirt in there? Yep. So again, wool is not necessarily self-cleaning. So back to that story. There we go. I don't want to felt it. I'm just gonna. I got the water through it. That's what I want. I want the water and the soap to go through all the layers of this. Is kind of thick. I'm just gonna let it soak there. That's what I mean by wash. You kind of let it soak. I don't put something delicate like this into the wash. But back to my husband's story. I did that. I soaked this in Power Scour again, which is like this, which is this Beyond Clean, except it's called Power Scour and it has a little scent in it. And sure enough, the next day, crossed my fingers, held my breath, and it came out clean. So, and I took a little photo of that and I shared it with the Unicorn people, like, oh my gosh, it really does work. Because I was just using Power Scour on my dirty, dirty wools that come off the sheep. And I really didn't know that I could use it because it sure gets those wools clean. I mean, those wools off those sheep, I mean, it would be black. I mean, pure black. And for the first washes of raw wool, I just use water. That's all I do, is to get some of the dirt off if you're using some raw wool that's really dirty, because you can't clean dirt, is what I learned over the years. So you have to get the dirt out if you actually want to get the other stuff to clean. So for wools, that would be the suet, which is their sweat, the lanolin, which is their oils. So before I get to that, I need to get off that. So there's no use wasting these detergents on whatever just plain old water can get out. So that's what I had used on that. Just plain old water. And then once it got like where I could actually see my hand under the water a bit, then I would start using adding some detergents, and it really helps. So I'm going to stop futzing because it's very, you want to get fiddly with your wool. You love your wool. I love my wool stuff. And you just kind of fiddle, poke, but you're really not supposed to do that. So I'm going to end this clip so I stop poking my wool mittens. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes and I wanted to show you. See, I'm going to pull these out. And look at the water. Look at that water. That's not clean water. Again, wool is not self-cleaning. And these are knitted items. This is not straight off the sheep either. So for me, this means I need to wash it or soak it one more time. It's a little too dirty for me still. And I know that the dirt will be in there. So I'm going to do the same thing that I showed you in the previous clip. I'm just going to repeat that and I'll be back at the end of that soak. Okay, I'm back. Can you see that? There. So I waited about 10 minutes. I'm just kind of running that water through that. Just like that. I'm not going like this. I'm just squeezing. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Let's lift it up and let's look at the water. Look at that. It's still somewhat dirty, but that's going to be good enough for me. At least it's not as dirty as it was before. And I know at the end of the season, I'm going to have give these a good wash before I store them. I had in another video yesterday where I talked about really need to wash all your wools, clean your wools before they go into summer storage. So that'd be okay, because I know I'm going to be using them, and I'm going to be touching door handles and steering wheels and all that stuff. What I'm going to do is I have some over here. I have some clear water, the same temperature as that, and I'm just going to put that down there. Okay. And I'm just going to set that for a couple minutes. I'm going to drain this, that dirty water. Now I'm going to take the same water, about the same temperature, and make sure there are no suds in here. I mean, if you don't want to deal with, like, well, is it the same temperature thing, you can just use cold water straight through. You know, that's what they recommend. And the reason why they recommend that is because they know if they tell people they could use warm water, they would use boiling water, and then people would get mad at their company and all that stuff. So just the safest is cold, then it won't change colors on you. But since this is a little warm and this is cold, it's not going to shock it. It's not going to immediately felt it, but drastic temperature changes will felt it. Drastic ones, like putting it from a cold wash to a boiling hot dryer, that will. So again, I'm going to try this. Can you get on camera? Where is it? Here we go. Beyond Soft Fabric Conditioner. So I'm going to put that in the water, not too much. Let's see if that makes it. Maybe it'll help with some of the flyaways, because I can see on this that this is you know, it's gotten a little fuzzy. Let's see if this conditioning will calm that down a little bit. We'll just see. I don't know. Put that in here. And I don't know if the Beyond Clean will say, oh, you need to have more water. You don't normally put water on top of fiber like this. You fill it up. And that's why they don't recommend you doing it in the washer, because most of the washers have the water coming from the top down onto the fibers. That's why they don't recommend washing. And if you have one of those washers that will go from the bottom, or you can open it, mine locks. So it does have a cycle where you can drain and then spin. And sometimes I'll use that. And sometime I'll show you kind of what things things that are not as valuable to me or are very heavy, probably not sweaters, something like that. I'll have to figure out. Sometimes I will use that drain and spin on my woolens, but not usually. And in doubt, don't do it. Unless you just want to experiment. So, but some things I will drain and spin. So that's probably all it needs. The water feels a little bit slippery from this conditioner. And okay. So now I'm gonna see if we can put it over there. I'm gonna put it over here and do the same towel thing. Now, if it's a big cardigan or something like that, or a big shawl or something, I may put this on the floor and march on it to get the water out. Oh, yep, I feel a lot of water coming out. And because these are lined, these are going to take extra long to dry, but that's okay. Like I said, I have a new gizmo I'm going to try and see if that works. So there we have it. I don't know if you can see it. Yep. Some nice, clean mittens. Okay, so now I'm going to do something that's pretty delicate. This is, let me see if I can do it back here. Which way does it go? That's the bottom, the scalloped edge. I don't know if you can see it. This is, it's called the Lacy Wimple. I think that's the pattern by, oh goodness, Remy. This is made of kid mohair, and I don't know if I can show you. Let's see if I can get up here. It has beads. I put pearl beads in here. This is actually version 2. See at the bottom. I don't know if you can see. I don't know. The light's not very good. can barely see it with this light. So I actually made the first version, and I put it in our local fair, and it won a big prize. And then my devout Catholic friend, who likes to wear a head covering over her when she's in her church, she loved it so much that I gave it to her. So then I had to make another one so that I could have one. So this is version 2. She actually has the nicer version, but that's my foray into lace. And the first time I did beads, I mean, it's really hard to see the beads because it's white on white. But for this delicate thing, I'm going to use just the basic fiber wash. I'm not going to use the extra strong one. I'm just going to really, really baby this. Haha, see? Unicorn baby. See, it's called unicorn baby. So I'm going to baby this. I'm just going to put a few drops in here. It's not terribly, terribly, terribly dirty, but just a little bit. And this I am using really cold water. This is kid mohair, and this is going to shed. I just know it's going to shed. And one thing I forgot to mention is that a good way to do this, not to have a bunch of soap, is bubbles or foam, is you fill it and then you put your soap in it like this. I'm just going to feel it. Yep, it's a little bit slippery, not really slippery. That means there's not a lot in it, but this is really delicate. I think it'll be just fine, and it's not that dirty. Oops, I see a black hair. Oh, get out of there. Get out of there. Yep, from the other wash. This is a problem. Yeah, okay. I don't want any black stray fibers with my white. So I should probably get another one of these. One for black fibers and then one for light or white fibers and delicate things like this. So I'm going to just lay it in here. Just going to lay it. And watch. I'm going to really baby this one. Just going to use my fingertips and just put it under the water. And this one I will definitely use the conditioner because the mohair just wants to go boing at the end of everything. So, okay. So I'll be back in just about 5 minutes. Like I said, it doesn't need much of a wash. So I'm going to baby this one because it's, to me, it's delicate because it's lace and it's mohair and it has the beads in it. And I put so much effort into making the second version so I could have one. So it's special for me. It only comes out like once a year for me to wear. I wear it over Christmas. So I'll see you in about 5 minutes. Okay, I'm back. So it's been soaking for about 5 minutes. And I'm just going to finger poke it. And just finger poking it. You see the water? You see that? It's pretty clear. So it wasn't as dirty as the wool gloves. So when I said in my video that it really depends how much dirt and how often you wear your wool to determine whether it's kind of self-cleaning or whether it stays clean longer. So now I'm going to do this. I'm just going to press it into, I have some cold water here to rinse. I'll dump this out. I use cold water. I'm going to get this ready with some, here we go, some of the Beyond Soft conditioner, the anti-static. And mohair can get staticky, it can get stringy. Anybody who's worked with it kind of just gets everywhere. So hopefully this extra conditioning will manage that mohair to stay in place. Okay, so now I'm going to take it from here, which is the plain rinse water, and I'm going to put it here, which has the conditioner put on it. And I'll show you kind of how I just delicately kind of lift it up. And I see a black hair. Oh no. Just gently squeeze. And I will put it in here. This is the one that has the conditioner in it. It's cold water. I'm just having it cold again. Finger press that down. And then I just wait for a couple of minutes. Really. Maybe it's not even that long. So this is the first time that I'm using this conditioner product, and when it's all dry and said and done, we'll know whether there was a difference or not. So, okay, so here it is, just soaking. Okay, so I think this is really just, it just needs a soaking, and I think it was probably just a minute that I've had it in here. So gently, 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 and then I'll go over here, and again I'll put this out. I'll just roll it up. Got most of it out. Lace dries pretty quick. And in another video, or it might be another video, or it might be a clip here, I'll show you my new drying gadget. So I wanted to show you all this new gizmo that I got. Well, it's not new. It's new to me. I got it at one of our guild auctions, and since most of the people there are weavers and not spinners, anything to do with wool washing or drying or fleece or anything, everyone just kind of looks at me like, yeah, you know, it has your name on it. So, and then I usually fall for it. But it was only $10. I thought, well, what the heck, since I wash a lot of fleece, maybe this will speed up the drying a bit. And I do have regular sweater racks that I use and other drying racks for my fleeces, but who knows where they are in the move right now. But this one I did find. And the stuff. So this is, as you can see, it's kind of like a stack. You can see down here. Let's see, where's my finger? It's up there. So it makes a little stack. Somehow I put it together, so that means that other people should be able to put it together. And basically it has a little hair dryer at the back end of it, and you just lay your woolens flat, your delicates flat, and that's usually the best way to dry them is flat. And then you get to it says 75% faster drying time. So I'm going to try it out with our woolens and fibers that we wash today. And I'll let you know what I thought about it. Okay, y'all. I'm back. And these have been drying for a while. This is the mohair. And it's already dry. This was a silk scarf that I had washed, and that's dry, so I can put those away. You can see on this next layer, I'll put this up here. These are the mittens that I did, and I just turned them inside out for a little while because, you know, it's going to take a while for that. And if you go down here, you can see I have a I did a sweater. This is a cashmere sweater, and the drying space is only this wide, so it's not all the way out here. So the sides are not getting done, and it's a little hard for me to like block it from down here. So that's something to think about. And then down here, this is a wool vest that I had, and it's gonna take a while to dry. And again, I really can't block it, but when it's part dry, and this is part dry as well, I will take them out and then I will block them. So overall, for some things, this is it's a pretty good dryer. Some of this, you know, it's gonna take a bit longer, but if I didn't have any, that they may, you know, take days to dry. So I just wanted to show you the Hamilton Beach dryer here. I mean, it's great. You have, you know, little socks, handmade socks you want to put on here, and scarves and everything. You may want to think about it if it's something you're interested in. So I wanted to show how I lay out my my tights and my scarf. I just drape it over this little clothes rack, and it's a beautiful day. It's a little cool, but you can put these things outside too. There's a little breeze, so that'll help dry dry things off too. So even if it's the winter, you can dry things outside. When I lived in Russia, there were no washers or dryers in their apartments, and they would hang everything out and freeze dry, they said, and then they would bring it in, and because everything was natural fibers, they had to iron everything, and it would thaw out and it would be just the right humidity, dampness for ironing. So just because you're in a cold climate doesn't mean that you can't dry things outside as well. So I'm going to take advantage of some of the sun and a little of the breeze and see if we can get these to dry off a little quicker. So that's it. Thanks for joining me today on Spinning the Past. Today I went over how I do hand washing of woolens and silk and cashmere and the delicate fibers and the mohair. I introduced a new product that some of you may not know called Unicorn Baby. They also have their other line, which is just like it, except it has a scent. Some people like scents, and I'm allergic to some of the scents. And I showed a bit about drying on the Hamilton Beach electric dryer, and you can also just let things damp dry over a rack. I also have flat sweater racks, but I guess they're in storage. I can't find them right now, but that's where I would normally lay flat my cardigans and my vests and everything, and kind of put what do you call it? Block it. Yeah, I would block it a bit like that. Now, if I have a shawl, that would be totally different. I have a blocking mat. I would really severely block that. But I hope today has been helpful to you. I hope it's been interesting. I hope you learned something and you're not afraid to hand wash your woolens, and you see that, yeah, wool has to be washed. It doesn't self-clean, and you saw those with the mittens. But you know, does it need to be washed every day? Depends if it's next to your skin or not. I've talked about gloves or hats or socks or things that you wear that are against your body and then will get a little soiled a little quicker than things that you have tops or something underneath. So thank you so much for joining me this new year for Spinning the Past, and I'll see you next time.